I think everyone gets a little homesick, especially if you have fond memories of your early years, and I do. You want to visit old familiar places, visit with some of your former classmates, and return for at least a moment to an era that gave you a direction in your life. You know, in a world that changes so rapidly, I guess what one looks for in returning home is a link with something permanent, sense of belonging. And that's what this show is about. The time, the people, and the events that were important in my early years. And about how things have changed since then, reflected not only in Norfolk, my hometown, but all across America. It's lovely countryside, isn't it? I think autumn is probably the most beautiful season in Nebraska, and that's where I am right now in northeast Nebraska, about 110 miles from Omaha. Down the road here, a few miles, is the town of Norfolk, Nebraska, where I grew up. The Indians, the Sioux, the Ogallala, and the Pawnee, who roamed this Great Plains state years ago, called Nebraska Flatwater. Most of us know it as the Cornhusker State. I simply call it home. Now, about this. This car, this beautiful car, is a 1939 Chrysler Royal with fluid drive. It's the same car my dad owned when I was a kid. Not one like it. This is the exact same car. A fellow by the name of Bob Means of Norfolk, Nebraska, bought this car at auction a few years ago, and he checked the registration with his friend down in the state capital of Lincoln, Nebraska, and he found out that this car was registered to my dad, H.L. Carson, 306 South 13th Street, Norfolk, Nebraska. As a matter of fact, my dad has some home movies of me polishing this car when I was about 14. Not only did I learn to drive in this car, it also got me to the senior prom. Let's drive into town and see how much Norfolk has changed. This car doesn't seem to have the pickup it did in 1943. Then again, neither do I. Population in Norfolk when I lived here was about 10,490, if I remember the sign. Now it's almost 20,000 people. They didn't have a divider on Main Street when I was here. They used to not parallel park, you park diagonally. Now they parallel park. Interesting thing about the buildings here, even though they have new fronts, if you look up at the top, you can still see the old brickwork or the old cornices or cement work up there, which gives you an idea how old the buildings are. Not shifting as well as I used to. Yeah, these buildings are all the same. Montgomery Ward's used to be right in here with the Daily News. Montgomery Ward's is still here. I'll be damned. I'm going to just stop over here for a second and take a look at this building. Now, when my folks came here in 1933 from Avoca, Iowa, let's see, I was 8 years old when I moved here in 1933. The very first night we got to this town, we stayed right up here in the Hotel Norfolk. And we stayed on the 4th floor, and I couldn't sleep all night because of the tremendous amount of traffic that was out here then. Not even what it is now. It was the biggest building I'd ever seen, and I still think it's one of the biggest buildings in Norfolk. This used to be the Iowa Nebraska Light and Power Company, then the Consumers. My dad's office was upstairs. He was operations manager. Oh, there's the old YMCA down there. YMCA was very much a part of my life and a lot of kids in this town. That was a place where you'd go after school. There would be basketball, learn to swim there. Held some of the high school dances there. And there's the Norfolk Daily News. That's the new office now, run by Jerry Hughes, whose father had it before him and his grandfather had the paper before Jerry. Now, over here down this street, I wonder if that's there anymore. There's a place called the Norfolk Furniture Mart, owned by a gentleman by the name of Fred Brown, right back in there. And I used to have a part-time job delivering furniture for Fred Brown. Had a pickup truck. People would come in, order the furniture. We'd put it on the pickup truck and drive out maybe 50 miles to some farmhouse. Then I had to assemble the furniture. And the trick of assembling furniture sometimes in small farmhouses was that the floor of the farmhouse was not exactly level. So you would have to start sawing off a little bottom of the table leg to balance it. And if you weren't too good at it, which I wasn't, you'd have to saw off a little more of the other leg. Pretty soon these poor people would have about a 2.5-foot high table when they'd ordered a full dining room table. Very embarrassing. There's the grain elevators over there. Most people who live in big cities never seen grain elevators. Well, there's a school bus just there. Now, we didn't have school buses when we lived here. I suppose because the town has moved out into the suburbs, distances are a little big, but when I lived here, why, everybody just walked to school, usually about 15 or 20 minutes. Now we're going to turn left on South 13th Street. My house, the old house, should not be far down here. Here in the next block, is that? Ah, yeah, there it is. Big old white house over there, the big white frame house. God, I love that house. Hi, how you doing?
All right.
You're Wayne, right? I met you before. By the way, this is now the home of Wayne and Linda Combs here and their family in Norfolk, and where I used to live. You want to introduce me to the rest of the family?
Yeah.
It's your dad over here, I'm sure, huh?
Yep.
Wayne, how are you? Thanks for letting us intrude here.
Fine.
Who's this young man?
This is Donaldson.
Donaldson, the chess player, right? Linda? Thank you very much for letting us come in here. Who's the rest of your family? Huh? How you doing?
My sister.
And who's this pretty girl?
Hi.
How you doing? Oh, you give me one of those, huh? Right on. I told you before, you know, that I was exactly your age when I lived in this house. Do you believe that?
Yep.
You know how long ago that was? 1937.
6 or 5 years before my dad was born.
I don't want to hear that.
All right,
Would you do me a favor? Would you show me around the house and some of the places where you hang out?
Okay.
Okay, let's go. Hasn't changed too much outside the interior decoration.
Dad, I've heard your dad put in that fireplace, right?
My dad put that fireplace in, and I used to sit with a deck of cards. I did magic when I was about your age. Every place in the house I had a deck of cards in my hand. Drove my mother crazy, drove my father and my brother and their sister. My mother would be upstairs in the bathroom. Now, you may not believe this, but I would go into the bathroom and say, take a card. This is the dining room, still the dining room, right?
All right.
Do you take most of your meals out here?
Yeah, we eat some here, and sometimes if there's a good movie on TV, we take our trays out and go
In
sit
front of the
down.
TV, huh?
Oh, yeah.
See, now, we didn't have television.
Oh, you didn't have to? Oh, yeah,
No,
that's right.
remember? We had no television, but I'll tell you what, over that corner, you know what we had?
What? Oh, radio, probably.
We had a radio, stood about this high, sat on 4 legs, General Electric radio. You want to see what I used to do on Sunday night?
What?
Now, don't laugh at this.
Okay.
Okay. Used to come right over about here. And I would lie down about right like this. Come on, join me.
All right.
And we would sit here and listen to that radio.
Oh, you'll remember me. I'm Fred Allen.
Oh, Fred?
Yeah, capital A.
Bob Hope, of course.
All right, Crosby, throw me a straight line and let's get this egg rolling.
Remember Jack Benny?
The Lucky Strike program starring Jack Benny.
I'm overlooking a sink full of dishes that I overlooked all week.
Good morning, Rochester.
Oh, good morning, boss. Did you have a nice night?
Oh, pretty good, Rochester, but as you know, I had a difficult time falling asleep.
Boss, tonight when you go to bed, why don't you take a little pill?
No, Rochester, I prefer to count sheep.
I know, but I feel so silly putting on that white coat and jumping back and forth over your bedpost.
Okay, now I used to have a study room in here where I did my lessons.
Yeah, I think that was that old room right in there.
Now, should we go in there first?
All right.
Okay, go ahead. Show me.
Okay.
Okay. I used to have a desk right over here. I had a desk in here. I would come up and work on my lessons here. And my brother and I had a younger brother, Dick. And we both slept out here. We call this the sleeping porch. Mm-hmm. And who sleeps in here now?
My other brother, one beside my sister.
Yeah? You know.
He sleeps in here, and sometimes he's got a little messy room.
Well, nothing has changed. We were pretty messy, too, because we had two of us in here.
Problem was when I used to sleep in here, the pigeons. Oh, there's something else. Scratch the roof and
You don't like that?
peck.
I used to kind of like that sound. They'd used in the morning, you'd hear that. Same thing? They're still here?
Uh-huh.
It must be the children of the children of the children of the pigeons that were here when I was here. I kind of like that in the morning.
Some of them nest up there. Some
I
of
can
them right
see
by my
why they did
window
it.
also.
Okay, let's go into your room.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I can tell this is your room.
Mm-hmm. Mess.
You got enough stuff in here for a couple of rooms. What are all these things? What do you got here?
Well, I got my fish over there. That's what I should show you. Got this beanbag over here.
How are the fish doing?
Oh, they're all right. If you want to get across, you'll have to either climb over the bed or...
I'm coming around. I'm coming around.
That little one over there, if you can see him. I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
No, I see
He
him
doesn't
now.
like to move around that much.
Yeah, well, there's really not much to do in there during the day, is there?
No.
I like this room. How do you like this house? You like it?
Oh, I like it pretty well.
Yeah, so did I. My sister Catherine had this room. But it didn't look
Sister
like...
Catherine?
My sister Catherine had this room.
Oh.
But she had it, like girls have a room. You got it like a boy's room.
You want to see my mom's room?
Yeah, if she doesn't mind. You think we're intruding?
It's right around here.
Yeah. This is my mom and dad's bedroom also. Yeah, this is my mom and dad's room in here.
It was?
Yeah. You ready for this? You'll probably catch everything I do here.
Right.
That's one way to shuffle. You ready? Let's take one card. Any one. That one? Okay, you look at it. Don't show it to me. You know what it is? Okay, put it back in. Remember it? Now the trick is to find it. You sure you remember it? I'm going to show you the card and you tell me.
No.
You sure?
Huh?
Now you watch. Hooray! That's right.
That.
Aha! Do you know how I did that?
You turn the thing around. You turn it for the bottom.
You're right. That's exactly how I did it. Now you know why I gave up magic. Huh?
No, sometimes it's people over there.
Yeah, we used to be pretty good, my brother and I. I was about 4 years older. Short. One zip.
All right.
This is going to be a long day for me. 2-0. See, actually, if we're back this far, you should get 3 points. 2 points from inside there.
Oh, you want to try that one? Oh, you're going to try it again?
Sure. 6. 9.
Right. Oh, you made a 10?
3 in a row, not bad.
Now what? I got to make it up from 6 to 9? All right.
It's a tie. It's a tie. Huh? You're too good for me. Playing school?
No, not much.
Did you ever have to shovel this walk in the winter? I used to have to shovel this whole walk,
No, it's hard.
especially when you get one of those 1 foot or 2 foot snows. And you got to shovel it all the way out and bank it up against the front out there. You've seen my car, right? Mm-hmm. That 39 Chrysler? Okay, I'll teach you how to drive this one. Okay, come on, right now.
Oh, right now?
Right now, sure, why not? Because this is the way I learned to drive.
All right.
I would get in this car when my dad was at work, and I would drive the car up to the garage, put it in reverse,
And back.
come back all the way here, then try to go first, second, and try to get in the first gear without running through the garage. Half the time I'd be over in the front yard, mowing all of this down, or I'd be over in Mr. Everling's yard over there.
Yep.
Okay, now tell you what I'll do. You move over here, see if you can reach the pedals on this. Now you gotta pull this up, and you're gonna have to bring it back towards you.
Okay, now.
Push the clutch in further.
Right.
Push it on in. Push it all the way in. In? Now, when we start, you start to let that clutch out, you're gonna have to give it some gas. Okay, now let that clutch out real slow. Give her some gas. Okay, let the clutch out. Give her some gas. That's it. You know where the brake is?
In the middle?
Right over here on the right. That's just what I used to do. You'll grow another foot in the next 2 or 3 years, then you'll be able to reach that. See old radio? Got the ignition on now. This thing should warm up. There you are. It'd be funny if we got a radio show 40 years old on this all of a sudden, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It was a good old car. Then. It's not a bad car now, is it?
No, antique.
Huh, it's an antique, you're right. So am I. I hope for the sake of progress they never tear this building down. Not just for sentimental reasons, but this building was once featured in Esquire magazine as a classic example of 1920s architecture. This is now the junior high school in Norfolk. When I lived here, this was the high school. I think the most vivid memories one has of growing up center around the high school years. And I think probably the reason is because you enter at the innocent age of 14, and 4 years later you graduate, hopefully somewhat resembling an adult. And in between are 4 years of a lot of activities and very mixed emotions. There are the studies, of course, but most kids in high school seem to remember the crazy times, the fun-filled times, the football games, the high school dances, sense of achievement, of course, fear of not being popular, learning rejection, sexual discovery, big thing, a lot of confusion and hopefully some growth. And somehow we all managed to make that transition from adolescence to adulthood. Now down the hall in one of the classrooms are 6 survivors of the class of 1943 who managed to make it through with me. And we've set up a special class that takes us all the way back to the 6th grade. Well, this is about the way it was. As close as we could get to Grant Elementary School at about, that would have been what, 1934, 35, 36?
Like that. Right.
This is Larry Sanford. Larry is now a stockbroker and vice president of A.G. Becker in San Francisco, California. And this is the way Larry looked in the high school annual. This is Jack Kaiser. Jack's now a psychiatrist in Wilmette, Illinois.
Old boiler.
Robert Record, now executive vice president of an engineering firm in Rock Rapids, Iowa. This is Dean Wetzel. We used to call him Wetz. He's general manager of Consumers Packaging Division of Champion International in Chanhassen, Minnesota. This is John Bush. I used to copy John's algebra papers every week. John's now a dentist in Denver, Colorado. And this is Dr. Gordon Jack Farner, who's now an orthopedic surgeon in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. Do the desks seem smaller?
The whole world seems smaller.
Yeah, the desks are smaller. We got real ink. We've got the old pens, a little bit of everything, and then later on we got a surprise. I want to ask Jack something. Jack, you're a psychiatrist. Do you find that growing up in a small town like Norfolk, that we had the problems that the kids have nowadays, or is it much easier, much tougher on kids now?
I think it is tougher. I think, for one thing, in Norfolk, we had a very stable population. The same families, the same people lived in this town for many years. There weren't people moving in and out. There weren't people being transferred around. The same people were here, so you got to know everybody, and you got to know about their family and where they lived and what they did and all kinds of things. It helped you find an identity for yourself.
One of the things I remember, was during the war, when we would have all the drives. They had the scrap drives, they had the rubber drives, and so forth. And we went out. Yeah, and they would have contests between the classes, and we were seniors, I guess, at that time.
Yeah.
And we went out. I remember us getting a truck from somebody.
Somebody in the class worked after school for Ballantyne Furniture Company.
Yeah.
And old man Ballantyne, God, he must have been 85 years old, had this old delivery truck that was stored in his garage.
A panel side truck, right?
Told us we could use it.
We took that truck. It didn't run too well.
Oh.
We drove that thing around, and the idea was to bring in metal. And the more metal in it, we went to, I guess, Robinson's, and then would weigh the metal on the truck to see who was ahead. We literally took everything that was not nailed down. We dug up old autos. We stole appropriated fence to throw on here.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Remember, some of the farmers showed up here the next morning looking for some plows.
A hay rack or something. We took a hay rack. But the Ballantyne, I remember Mr. Ballantyne never got the truck back.
Never found out what happened.
We never found out what happened to the truck. I don't know whether we just
I think
did we dismantle
scrap.
Probably. I have a feeling we dismantled old man Ballantyne's truck. True, and
The last load we just drove out.
I don't know about you, but I was a little bit in awe of most of the teachers.
Absolutely.
I mean, you liked them, but you never talked back to a teacher.
Oh, well,
You would never call a teacher.
you remember.
When you do sneaky things in class, you'd make silly sounds, you know. Who did that? Who did that? Trick was to see what kind of sounds you could make where you wouldn't get caught. Kids are still doing that at school. But I think it was the respect that teachers have that they don't seem to have now. In those days, God, if you had to go in front of the principal, you know, if Miss Gordon said get up and you didn't know how to diagram a sentence, or you didn't prepare your lessons, that was trouble. One of our teachers, who is no longer teachers, but still is active, and the kind of teacher we were talking about, that you respected and really kind of really challenged you when you were in school, is Miss Gordon. And since we have the desks, since we have the inkwells, and since we have the pens, we have the blackboards, we also have Miss Gordon here today. Yes, Miss Fay Gordon, and she is going to try to resurrect our miserable writing and get us back into shape from maybe like the 6th grade, okay?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Well. What are we going to do now?
I think we need a little remedial writing, Miss Gordon.
Well, I think maybe you do, too. All right, now, position, feet, shoulders, push your hips back against the chair, elbows on the corner, and now remember that your pointer finger points to that little hole in the pen point. All right, now, just a little bit of this. You don't remember. We do ovals for roundness of letters and for the connecting stroke out of that. So 2 lines high.
2 lines.
2 lines high.
2 lines.
All right, we're going to make 50 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50. When we have more time. No, you're not supposed to fill the line.
Oh.
You were supposed to have gone about 1/3 of the way.
Oh.
Well, not this time, but we'll work on that again.
My ovals are better.
All right.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be talking in class. I know that.
All right, now.
I used to try to look over and steal somebody's ovals like you could steal them, you know. It's not like an answer to a problem.
Now we're just going to do just a few of these, and then we're going to go into a letter.
All right.
10 counts. Are you ready? 1 line high.
1 line.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, touch them. Have them touch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. John.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, I did something. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're making compact ovals.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
All right, now. We're going to I've selected an easy letter for you today because I thought maybe we better get back in the groove. All right, will you watch, please? Pull around, pull around, pull around, pull around, pull around. Or 1, 2. Now we'll, let's go back and, real good, John.
Thank you.
Good. All right. All right. Are you ready? Now we're going to put it inside the circle, and right here's a little bit of slant, and right at the edge there would be your push-pull line to give it slant. Ready? Yes, John.
Do we still use the same ovals we just made?
Put it right inside
Put
like
inside
I did
that oval.
here. And we'll do 5. Yes?
What if there's no room inside?
Well, there's supposed to be room. Excuse me. Suppose there's no room inside.
Well,
the oval.
you can get a good seat in there.
man,
I'm
it's a doctor.
sure you can. Okay, ready?
No room inside your
1,
oval.
2, pull around. 1, 2, pull around. 1, 2, pull around.
You're going to Collins.
All right, we'll wait while you catch up.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, guys.
It's a good thing you fellows all have secretaries.
You are right. Well, Miss Gordon, we want to thank you for taking us back and retraining us in an art that seems to be missing. It was lovely of you, and we enjoyed it.
Well, it was nice being with you.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow night. See you tomorrow night.
I remember I got my first bicycle in this shop, or my dad bought it, and I used to come here for years to get the bike fixed, and if I'd have a flat or something. And it seems just about the same. Hi. Is my bicycle ready?
It's ready.
How you doing?
Hello, Johnny.
You're Doris, right?
Yes, I am.
And you're Vic.
Yeah. Does that look familiar?
Oh, me. Does that look familiar? Does this look familiar? You know, the first bike I got, the bikes before, I got my first bike, I think, in around 1937.
This was the same type bike in your period.
Yeah, I remember I had the old kickstand, and then later on, once you'd get the bike, you had to have all the stuff on it. You got the basket.
Yeah.
Got the basket. Then I remember I had this light here, but the thing in those days, they'd mount a big flashlight up here. Everybody wanted a big 3-cell flashlight, and you'd put that on there.
I remember that.
And you'd go all over town with this. What would my dad had to pay for this?
This is the
You're not-
entry in the book. This is Ace Nelson's writing.
I want to see this. August 25th, 1937, H.L. Carson. 1 Ace Maroon and white bicycle. 3875. 4-wheel brake. Now, apparently he must have turned in an old bike. I don't know where he got that.
Did your sister have an old bike?
You got it. She had a bike. He got a $10 credit.
That's right.
$20. He put down $10 in cash. Balance was $18.75. Paid in full.
Wasn't that something?
And you've got it all in longhand from 1937.
1937.
Your dad kept some records, didn't he? Oh, yeah, I'm gonna try this again. Do you think I could borrow this a while and take a little trip around Norfolk and take it out and look around?
Sure.
They say you never forget, you know.
That's
like
right.
learning to ride a bike, you get right back on. There's no trick to it.
Get the old feel.
Hey, that's wonderful. Shouldn't be too tough, huh? I'll go out and see how this works, okay? Turn it around.
Let's get that door open.
Okay, thank you, Vic.
Very loud.
Seat's the right size. I always like this because you put the girls up here. Huh? Right here. No, not that way. You'll hurt yourself. No, just sit on. Now, turn around. Now, sit up there. That's the way. Okay? Now, keep your feet up.
Feet out.
This way to me, that's all. Not too comfortable, right?
I can't believe it.
Okay, now we're gonna swing around, head back. You gotta keep your feet out now. Turn the wheel, okay? Here once. It's got to be Wetzel and Truax, right. Prices have gone up. Get your hair cut over there for 25 cents. Used to put it on the tab until the bill got to be about $4. Good morning.
Good morning, Johnny. How are you?
You're Dick?
Right, Dick Adams.
Hi, Dick. How are you?
Real good.
Did you have my appointment?
You bet.
I called 38 years ago. I'm a little late. Now, this is all so familiar. Do I know this gentleman? Sure. Come on over.
Yeah, I'm Dan Mock.
Dan Mock.
Yeah.
Mr. Mock.
Yeah, and Farrell's your father.
Sure. How you feeling? You look wonderful.
Well, I feel pretty good, but I still got 87 years old.
You're 87?
Yeah.
You're looking mighty good for 87.
Yeah, better than you. I hope someday you'll be that old. Then you'll know how I feel.
I hope I look as good as you do at 87.
Yeah.
How you feeling? Pretty good?
Pretty good.
Are you going to get a haircut today?
Yeah.
Little trim? Why don't you get over there in the chair?
Yeah.
And I'll sit here and maybe we can talk a little bit, huh?
Well, all right.
I'd like to know what's been going on in the town for the last 40 years.
Well, I don't know.
Didn't you used to work for the railroad?
Yeah, I was on the railroad all the time that you was in town.
Right.
That's the reason Farrell could steal my car out and take you for a ride.
Did we steal your car?
Yeah.
I think we did a couple of times sneak over and push the car out into the street before we would turn the keys on so nobody inside the house
would hear it. Huh?
Would hear it.
Yeah.
And then we would go down the street a couple of blocks.
Yeah.
And drive the car around town. And we never thought that was particularly bad.
But how's your father?
He's feeling pretty good. He and my mother are living down in Arizona now.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
They still have a house in Columbus, though.
Do they?
Yeah, and they hope to get back to it sometime.
Oh, that's fine.
I think before we quit talking today, and it's been great talking with you. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
You're looking wonderful. We probably ought to settle accounts for the use of your car. What do you figure I owe you now? That was about 1940. What do you think would be fair for using your car? I want to keep my accounts.
Well, if you have any idea how many miles it went, it ought to be worth 10 cents a mile.
Well, let's see. I think we lifted your car maybe 2 or 3 times, and maybe we went 50 miles a time. How about $15?
Well, that sounds good.
Okay, I got $15 on me.
You have?
Yeah, you take 15.
You carry that much?
Oh, you bet. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're rich.
So $15 and we're even?
Yeah.
Okay. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you, and I hope to see you some more sometime.
Yeah, I hope you have many more years out here in Norfolk.
And don't forget me when you come to town again.
I sure won't. Ice Cream Palace. It was really the center of activity after high school. And the greatest hamburgers and malts you could get, 25 cents. Oh. Well, this obviously is not the Ice Cream Palace anymore. This is Hested's department store. It looks a little more modern than it was then, but we call it the 5 and dime or the 10-cent store. And in this store, a little escapade took place that ended out here. This is the rear entrance to Hested's department store. Now, what happened in there was that I admired a ring or something. It was very cheap, inexpensive, probably gold-plated ring, not even gold-plated, gold-painted, and I pilfered it. I stole it and put it in my pocket and was walking out the store when the manager came up and said he saw me. I denied, of course, that I had taken anything. I was petrified. The manager brought me out this door to this spot here and was going to march me down this alley to the end of the block and over to that building there, which was the Public Power District, and my dad had an office there. Of course, I said I had done no such thing. I had stolen nothing. And then as I saw that building, I'd never heard of plea bargaining till a few years ago, but I think that was the first instance of plea bargaining. We made a deal right here. If he didn't tell my dad, I would return the ring, which I did. Now, psychologists today would call that a learning experience. We call it getting caught and taught a lesson that crime does not pay. Here's another place that holds a lot of fond memories. This is the old Granada Movie House. It's closed now. Too bad. Movies used to change twice a week here. Seats 1,200 people. It's a great theater. You know, if I had been coming here in the late 30s, early 40s, it would cost me 10 cents if I was a kid, 35 cents if you're an adult. And of course, like all great theaters of that age, it had a super balcony. That's where you'd take your favorite girl if you really wanted to kind of, you know, make out a little bit. You know, for a town the size of Norfolk, this was an extremely large theater. The theater was important for many reasons in those days. I think mainly because when you grow up in a small town, most of your entertainment centered around radio, activities outside the school, but mainly the motion picture theater. You'd come here probably twice a week, and I remember they had a serial called The Adventures of Kit Carson. That was very, very important to me because my dad's name, although it was Homer, they called him Kit all his life. Now, in the old days, when you come here, there used to be, like in many theaters, there'd be a big Hammond organ down there. And you could come in here in about 20 or 30 minutes before the picture started. You had a nice organ recital. You know, there are probably a lot of theaters like this closed in cities all over the United States right now. And in a way, it's kind of sad because, well, the style of architecture kind of gives you a sense of continuity. But the problem is, as in most cities, the new Cinema 1s and Cinema 2s and automated projection has made these theaters kind of passé. You know, I suppose as a kid, I really did grow up in what was called an innocent age. Nowadays, in the drug-oriented culture, you hear about pill popping and so forth. When we were kids, there was none of that. We had heard about marijuana. We weren't very sure what it was. But we found out because one day, right up on that screen, a picture played here in the late 30s called Reefer Madness. We didn't know what reefer madness meant either, but it had to do with the evils of marijuana smoking. Wayward girls would have terrible, wanton behavior. We didn't know what that meant, but we wanted some of that. Not only did I come to this theater twice a week to see every picture that came out, but for several months I was an usher here. And I want to tell you, in the summer in Nebraska, being an usher here was the greatest job in town because this was the only air-conditioned building. And because your friends knew that, occasionally we would sneak up there, go up on the second floor, kind of open the fire escape, and they would sneak in and hide behind the seats till the show started. And on one particular day, of course, the day that everybody of that era remembers, December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor Day, I was ushering right here in this theater. And I can still remember the name of the picture, Bob Hope in Nothing But the Truth. And of course, that day, December 7th, 1941, changed everybody's lives. We were only 16, and we had to wait 2 more years before we could go in the service. And speaking of motion pictures, my dad took pictures of all of the fellows you met earlier about the day before we were all going into the service. A lot of the guys I used to go to high school with were ushers here at one time or another, and we used to have our own little hangout and changing room downstairs. Let's go down and see if it's still there. Of course, we did not have the best of quarters here. We were really down in the basement. It's cold now. It was even cold then. Well, as you can see, it was decorated a little better than this, and we had a coat rack up here with all the uniforms. And of course, not everybody had the same uniform. We kind of switched around. But this is interesting. This has not changed. Well, since I see guys' names here from 1939, here's one from 1937. Jack Leadham, whom I knew very well, was an usher here. This they haven't changed at all, never wallpapered over. Here's Neil Bentley, 1940. Neil married the girl I used to go with. I can't figure out why I didn't sign this. Think somebody maybe cut it out? Well, anyway, it may be a little late, but since this looks like it's going to stay here for a while, I might as well get in here, too. I suppose if I put 1981, that'll really confuse everybody. Well, let's see. I'll make it 1943. Well, that had to have been here since, when, the 30s? At least. You know, Jack Benny told me once that this was his best picture, Ernest Lubitsch's To Be or Not to Be. I'll take this. You know, John Updike, the author, once said the difference between childhood and boyhood must be this. Childhood is something you experience all by yourself. Boyhood is something that you share with other boys who grew up in the same environment. This is one of the things I did all by myself. About 1.5 miles, 2 miles down the track is Norfolk. And this used to be called Black Bridge. As you can see, they pulled a trick on us and painted it silver. Now, anybody who hasn't walked a railroad track as a kid has missed one of the great exciting sports in American history. When we were growing up, the trick was to see if we could walk out on one track all the way from Norfolk to this river without falling off. I did it actually, I think, once. Not a bad view from here either. I always kind of felt as a kid that this was a secret hideaway. Everybody has someplace they go by themselves, to be by themselves. You could fish here, you could swim out to the sandbar there. We'd sit up here sometime. I'd get a .22 rifle, put some tin cans or old light bulbs over there and just sit and target practice. This is a place that you just, you kind of come to be by yourself. And sometimes you bring a canteen full of water, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which I think I could still live on. Of course, you didn't want to get caught out here without water and food. You could perish out here. You were 2 miles from town. But this is my place, and it's as beautiful as ever. There were 2 ways you could get out to Black Bridge. One, you could walk out the tracks. I think this way was my favorite. I'd leave my bike down 13th Street and follow the river up here. There were more places to hide out, more places to camp, and it was quiet. I said at the beginning of the show, I think the reason people want to return home is to find something permanent. Well, this is about as unchanging a scene as I've seen in a long time. It hasn't changed in 40-some years. In the early 40s, there wasn't too much traffic on this bridge. The trick was to wait till the train came over, then to see if you had the guts on that particular day to climb down here, make my way over there on that girder, and hang from that girder while this 20 or 30 car train would go over. Well, here goes nothing. Ah, right on time.
I'm starting to laugh. Never mind, guys.
I told you might have anything.
I thought that train would never end. What? I couldn't tell where it was. If I'd have waited another 5 seconds,
You would have made it.
I would have made it.
Well, that's my hometown. and some of the places, people, and events that were part of an era that I grew up in. Like a lot of others, after the war, I returned to Nebraska, finished college under the GI Bill, landed a job at an Omaha radio station, which led to television. I often wonder if it all wouldn't have gone differently for me without the encouragement and support of my friends and family when I was a kid here. A term you hear used frequently is the Midwestern ethic. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but there still exists out here in this country an openness and an honesty and a sense of warmth that you feel inside. Thomas Wolfe once wrote, "You can't go home again." Well, that's probably true if you expect to find things as they were, but in a sense, we're like a turtle. We carry our home with us wherever we go. And by the way, I'd like to dedicate this program to my mother and father.